All right, here we are together once again, Red Poets Podcast. I go by the name of Twin City Tone. I'm here with my co-host,
Tall Paul.
And today we have a very special guest in the building, Ruti from Indigenous Roots.
What's up? What's good?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous now. Ooh,
are you?
It's been a minute.
We hit record and it got real.
For real.
But you've got some podcast experience, so.
We could say that.
Yeah, for sure. You're officially a podcaster.
Podcaster.
You know? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
For the people who don't know, maybe tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Absolutely. Okay. Yektayua, nahanatugay Ruti, nusuntugay Mejia, unaniulatan, shoshipalitzin sipaksi watsin, usulutan kuskatan, and yeah, so my name is Ruti, but my spirit name is Xochipalitzin Sipaxi Watsin, which means, Xochipalitzin means the one who carries the small essence of the flower, of the orange flower, and then Sipaxi Watsin means the one who carries the crocodile essence. And my family is originally from Cuscatan, but we all know now it is El Salvador. And on my father's side, we are from the Nahuapipil community, and on my mother's side, we're from the Linca Nation in Usulutan territory of El Salvador. So that's me. I'm 27 years old. I'm the partnership director over at Indigenous Roots Cultural Arts Center. So come visit us, Roots Cafe. Shout out.
Yeah. So
that's me in like a little bit of it right there. But I would consider myself a full East Sider because, okay, so I was born in LA, but I can't really claim that. I was only there for 3 years. Like, my parents came over here and we moved into the East Side, like down the street from Harding, grew up there, grew up going to church around here and stuff like that. But East Side has always been home. I've always had family over here. I remember La Palma, El Guanaco, all of those places, you know, starting up to where they were in that moment, but full East Side.
Okay. So you mentioned a couple of things there. LA, for example. So you still have family back in LA?
Yeah, actually, my brother, I just visited him. He's still living there, but he was born here. I was like, you're so funny. We're like opposite.
Oh, so you were born in LA?
Yeah.
He was born here, but he lives in LA.
Yeah, and I still have my cousin over there. And that's where my parents kind of really, after they fled from the war in Cuscatan, they met in LA. They moved to Reseda, so the valley area of LA, and just grew up there and had me, and then decided to move here. But my brother's down there, my cousin's down there, I got some friends down there. Most of my people, I would say they're concentrated in LA, in that area. So yeah.
Okay. How often do you get out there?
Well, not as often as I would like to. This time I was down there for a mobility justice summit that we did. So I was repping iRoots and just had a chance to really connect with my brother, my homies, who I'm a part of this council called Consejo Indígena Torogos, which is our kind of a youth council for the diaspora of indigenous people from Cuscatan. And with that connection, really trying to be back as much as possible because like a lot of our teachers and elders are there, and also try to start a chapter here and bring them over here. So not as often as I would like to, but hopefully in the future.
Yeah.
More.
Did your parents say what brought them to St. Paul?
Jobs. They always say jobs. They always say the opportunities were a lot wider here than they were in LA. They were really struggling. I know they don't really talk about it as much as, you know, we would like to, but that was like the number one thing. And also because I feel like my dad's side of the family has this one thing where they always send like a sibling, the oldest sibling, to kind of scope out the area, and then they'll holler and be like, okay, it's good, come over here. So that's really what happened. So then all my family, because it's so interesting, because I was just at a funeral which felt like a family reunion last Thursday here on the East Side, and all of the families that were there, most of them are from Cuscatan, El Salvador, or like areas. But most of them, my parents were telling me like, you know, we know them since we were in LA. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, so did y'all just like decided to collectively move to the East Side? And they were just like, it was just there was a big, huge opportunity for jobs here in this area, and that's really what moved them. But I'm shocked at how deep the connection is with migration and all that, of people just like, I was like, I think it's super amazing how you all met in LA, doing all that in the barrios and the neighborhoods, and here you all are now established and rooted in the east side.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is cool. I was going to ask you, so Roots, what do you say your official job title is over there?
So I am the partnership director now.
That's right. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
So what does that consist of?
Well, it consists of a lot of things. Partnership director, really, I oversee the local, the national, and the global partnerships that we have, and whatever that entails. So sometimes it really just means like I go and support our community partners in whatever events that we have. Maybe I like serve as a admin or logistical, or just show up and bring 5 people with me so that, you know, it's bumping. I know for global, it's connecting. It's like nation to nation, building that relation. So right now we have connections in Bolivia with a group called Frisohibi, which is a group that operates very similar to how Marianne and Sergio, who are our co-founders, operate out of iRoots, but their focus is keeping the traditional music of the Aymara, the Inca, and the Cochabamba nations, but with an orchestral spin to it. And so that's one. And then back at my home in Cuscata, we have the CISENIS, which is the Consejo Coordinador Nacional de Indígenas Salvadoreñas, which is just a fancy way of saying the indigenous communities, organizing indigenous communities, as well as the biggest one that most people know about is our Centro Nochitlan in Mexico. So I support wherever it is needed there to help build the relations with the community in Matashi, which is where Centro Nochitlan is located in del Estado de Mexico, which is about 2 hours from Mexico City and an hour away from Querétaro. But it's just building those relationships with nations and communities. I think the other one too is that we're starting to build relation with the Filipinx community over in the Philippines. Maybe, I don't know, starting a cultural center. But just is so important to build that solidarity across, you know, what borders are and things like that. So that's kind of like, and then at the national level, obviously in LA, but we also have folks in other states that come and collaborate with us, and maybe we don't necessarily go over there, but like it's just an exchange of knowledge and exchange of ideas as well. And then obviously locally, we're just everywhere. I feel like we're everywhere. We do a lot.
Right. What's your favorite part of your job?
Every day is different. Every day is so different. One day I'll be chasing Canela, who's our center cat, across the hallway, be like, no, Canela, come back. And another day I'll be sitting up, and like the Shaniqua Johnson, who's like our council member, will just show up, and she'll just be having a conversation with me and like coffee. Or I think the most beautiful thing is when we get youth in and they're just like, oh, what is this place? What is this place? It's so cool in here. And then I give a tour, and then they're like, wow, this place looks it's so much bigger than what it looks like outside. And so every day is just different. Or sometimes I'll have to cross the river to Minneapolis and like hang out with some partner folks over there. And yeah, it's just sometimes, oh my gosh, sometimes we just have fun. Like I remember one time it was just Oliver and I, and we were just doing admin stuff, but it was cool because we set up the projector screen in the bodega, which is our largest room, and we just watched Squid Games as we were doing emails. So that's what I'm saying. Like every day is different.
Yeah, but you're always busy though, I feel like, right?
Yes,
you always have something going on.
That's also the beauty part of it. Like there's always something going on.
How did you initially get linked up with Indigenous Roots?
So the way Marianne says is that she met me on the street. I actually knew of the danza group Calpulias Enochli, which is housed in Indigenous Roots, because I knew Alma Lora, who is a homie of mine that I've known since college. And I remember her inviting me over to her grad party, and then like learning a little bit about the space. And that was like, I would say like 2019. And I also had heard of them before when I was at Century College. So like out of high school and all that, they kind of were popping up, the dance group. And so then the dance group, what folks need to know is like Kalpuli Ausinochli and Indigenous Roots will ever be intertwined. And so if you know Kalpuli Ausinochli, you basically know iRoots. And if you know iRoots, you basically know Kalpuli Ausinochli. And so finally, in I think the reason why Marianne says on the streets is when things were popping off and there was a lot of organizing happening around the George Floyd lynching. We met on the street because a lot of my homies really brought me in, and they were like, "Hey, like, can you help organize?" We were also doing some stuff for Vanessa Guillen and bringing awareness for, because she had recently disappeared during that time, and so just creating a poetry and doing some filming stuff. And then finally I kind of just stuck around, and then Alma hits me up again. She's like, "Hey, we're actually looking for another person to become a core member for the, at that time, IIYCTC, which is the International Indigenous Youth Council Twin Cities chapter." And so she hit me up and she's like, "We're looking for a core member. Would you be interested?" And she's like, "We feel like you're a really good fit." I also was working with Indigenous Peoples Task Force over where Sharon Day on Franklin. And we had done collaborations with them. And so it just felt really good to know them. And that's kind of how I got involved. And I kind of never left.
Yeah.
I just kind of stuck around, joined the Kalpuli and never left.
Yeah. So you've been with iRoots for about 6 years now then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 years.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah.
So kind of talked about like how you got introduced to Indigenous Roots and everything like that. So what do you guys have going on like right now that you're most excited about?
I'm really excited because we're going to launch, I wouldn't say maybe the first, but like the first in a while, Eastside Farmers Market. And that's something that community has been asking for a lot. We get a lot of folks who just kind of pop up a canopy on the street sometimes and just sell their produce, right? And I was like, well, let's gather all of these folks and create our own farmers market. And it's going to be a very unique thing where there's going to be music, there's going to be like live painting, dancing, all the activities for families, but really most importantly taking care of our farmers and our community. And also gave me one job. But also to make it accessible for community too. Like I feel like sometimes when you go to farmers market now, it seems to be like kind of an elite thing sometimes. And the accessibility or the pricings are a little bit out of the range. And that's just been my experience and what people have told me. And there hasn't been an activation for a farmers market in the East Side for a really long time. And so we're excited to be, along with other organizations and farmers, to be able to provide that access that allows them to use SNAP, to use EBT, to use WIC, to use all of those resources and get fresh produce by also supporting our BIPOC farmers and just produce and farmers here on the East Side. So I'm really excited for that.
Okay. Do you know where that's going to be located?
Yeah, so it's going to be located at our sculpture garden. If you are on East 7th Street and you spot the Burger King in Metro State, there's a sculpture garden there, and that's where it's going to be. It's going to be held every second Friday of the month and every second Sunday of the month. So give people a chance. Like if you can't go Sunday, then you go Friday.
Yeah.
Could you tell us more about the dance collective that you're in and like what the significance of it culturally? Because my lady actually used to dance with one of the groups locally.
Okay.
And like I know at powwows they have the jingle dress dance, which is like a healing dance. So just kind of give us some of that information, whatever you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kalpuli Ausinochli means warriors of the first prickly pear or warriors of the first cactus flower. That's what Yausenochli means. And so Kalpuli Ausinochli, for me in the time that I came in, really was a place to help ground me and reconnect with a lot of my ancestral teachings that have always been in my family, but like never been just like said or none gave an opportunity. So what it is, it's a space for folks to connect with their roots, folks to not just come and move and dance, but really learn what it is to be in kingship, what it is to be in relation, like what it is, you know, to host space for all these elements, for you to find a way to ground yourself. And so I think for me, that's what Kalpuli Ausenoshli serves, is like a place to learn teachings, to have teachers, to have mentors, and learn the dances that are, like I mentioned, they're not just dances, they all tell a story. They all, each footstep. So how we separate dances is there's the base and there's the flower. Even how we call the steps, there's the base and the flower, or base can be the stem and then the flower, because you're creating a story. For example, there's a danza called Mesli, which means moon, and it goes through all of the phases of the moon, and how we know it and what we observed. And so that, what does that teach us? It also, the base is also consistent of like how the moon interacts and influences a lot of like the ocean and all that. So it's much more deeper than coming in and just dancing. It's a way to heal. It's a way to connect with ancestors, with community too. Thankfully, we've have teachers who've also received a lot of teachings from like teachers like Maestro Masad, Maestra Rita, Maestro Kashe, who also come from lineages of taking care of these dances and rituals too, not just like dances and songs. So it's a way for us to offer. It's a way for us to connect. It's a way for us to heal. I think the most impactful thing in my experience is anytime we have somebody pass away, it's really easy to kind of like sometimes isolate or to not know how to grieve, basically, you know, how to grieve. And I feel like grieving is a very not linear thing, but very like circular thing where it gets smaller. It's still there. And so, sorry, Anton. I talk with my hands a lot.
You're good.
For context, Anton told me not to like tap on the table, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
You're good.
But I was saying, for me, like, I recently had 2 family members pass, and one of them, in this time of age that we're scrambling, we're on our phones, and we can like doom scroll and just be mindlessly on Instagram, or for folks who have TikTok, it's really easy to like have your brain deassociate from grieving. And so I remember that I messaged my teachers, Maestro Nochsin and Maestra Marianne, and was like, hey, like I had a recent passing, and like is it okay if I can honor him at our next danza practice? And they were like, yeah, of course, like you know the drill, like you know the teaching. And so be able to do that, I came and I was clearly carrying a lot. There was fire, there was flowers, there was song, and when it was time for me to offer the danza, one of my favorite dances to offer is Huitzilo Pochli, which means left-wing hummingbird, which also represents the winter solstice. The other thing that Huitzilo Pochli represents for us is willpower. And I feel like the reason why I like to dance with Huitzilo Pochli is because when you're going to the last 5 flowers, it's all about squatting. It's all about like full body workout, and it gets really intense because you have to like crouch down, jump back up in like a millisecond, right? And I feel like it takes my body, it takes me mentally and spiritually to a level of like a point where you think you're not gonna do it, but then there's just like this willpower that comes. And you remember who's behind you and who's in front of you. And I remember that day, I completely like broke, didn't finish the danza, but because they had me paired with somebody else, that person helped me carry. And you can feel it in the circle. It's so powerful how everybody is grieving with you collectively. And so like that experience of grieving collectively and being able to maybe not my body gave out to not finish the danza, but the powerful moment when everybody's energy still held me, and I just started crying, and like even after that, like felt the essence of my uncle there, felt the essence of like everybody who had passed before me. And I think that's why like danza, Kalpulia Sunoshli, it's like that's what is unique about Kalpulia Sunoshli. We're not just like a dance group and to come and dance, but like there's a collective way of grieving, there's a collective way of joy, there's a collective way of being held. And so I feel like that's why it's so important for young people to have access to that, to heal, to be able to experience that way of collectively healing, you know?
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. You know, so it's, like you said, it's not just dance, it's like collective healing, it's ceremony even, it sounds like. So,
yeah, exactly.
So
it's ceremony.
Yeah. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about your artistry.
Oh man.
You know, we can't skip over that, you know, because you kind of try to keep it hidden.
On the D-low.
You don't really put it out there into the world, but Ruti is a very talented artist. So talk about some of the things that you've been involved with, you know, even behind the scenes.
For sure.
Artistically.
So I think my biggest way of saying being an artist is definitely, I would call myself more of a musician than kind of like a performing artist. I started playing drum kit at the age of 12 and guitar and all that. My family's always been musically inclined. And so percussion is always going to be my method of choice. But I was telling Anton earlier that I completely forgot that I like published these 2 instrumentals one time in this magazine called The Murphy Square that I submitted that I didn't even know I was going to get in. So in my free time, I don't do it too much as often, but my creativeness, I really like to explore. I'm a huge sound person, like a huge music junkie, and so I really like to explore with sounds and mixes and do that kind of stuff on the D-low, as I say. And then so that's like the main thing, and I think the main focus I have right now is being aware with sonkin, which is playing the traditional drum in the danza group, which is alongside with all the other drummers. So that's my main way of like instrumental right now. But what people don't know is I actually originally went to school for music therapy as my like way of connecting the things that I love, the making music, collectively making music with people and jam sessions. But then I switched over and I changed my major and took that collectiveness and community and still basically took a class that was like on psychology, culture, community, and music all together and made it my major. And I was like, yeah. So, I venture out a little bit. I think another artistic thing that I do is I'm a producer for film stuff. I've done some work with Missy Whiteman, with Pancho Sanchez, who runs Videos del Sancho. We launched alongside with so my auntie Missy and DJ AO. We launched a tobacco music video to it's called Keeping Tobacco Sacred with a bunch of youth. We wrote the song, produced it, filmed it ourselves, and co-edited it with Auntie Missy, as well as alongside we created the Unda Young celebrated their 40th anniversary either 2 years ago or a year ago. And so was able to be on that production team for their documentary that they launched at the gathering, as well as alongside with Auntie Missy Whiteman, we did the Star Seeds film that was housed at the Bellwin Museum. It was like a really cool 360 effects film. So that's what I do on the D-low.
Yeah.
Shout out to Missy and DJ AO.
Yeah,
for
real.
For sure. What were your influences? You said your family's musically inclined, but like, do you have any like particular people in your life that stood out? Maybe, and not just necessarily in your family, but people that you listened to when you were growing up or aspired to be like. What were your influences?
Absolutely.
Or maybe you don't have any.
I feel like it was definitely my dad. I don't know if people know what VHSs are still. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, we do, but they might not.
They might not. But a VHS is basically like a large cassette that instead of just like sound, it does video and sound. It's what we watch movies on before. And so I remember watching a VHS of my dad recording, and like right away he just put like some old school Jose or Joan Sebastian, like very what we call bolero music. And so I feel like my dad has definitely influenced a lot of the music taste that I have, very old school alternative rock, like 90s music. And so yeah, Joan Sebastian or man, why am I blinking on their name? Juan Gabriel and Ana Gabriela. He was very much into the like those artists. I think Jose was like one of his favorites. So he definitely influenced a lot. And my dad's a guitar player, so he's all about the shreddy and then just like. But it's so funny because he's also about like the acoustic, what we call requinto, where it's like a three-part music. It's you have the guitar and then like this big bass guitar that you play like this, and then like the little guitars, kind of what you see at mariachis, but without the wind instruments.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. Before we wrap up, I do have one last question. But Paul, you have anything else you want to ask?
No, not
that you can think of. Okay. So my last question for you would be: what does Ruti have planned for the future? Any future goals or big plans, either for yourself or for iRoots?
Absolutely. So in the future, one of the things, this is really funny because this idea just came out yesterday at a meeting that we had. And so in the future, Ruti is hoping to do a solo exhibit at the gallery at iRoots called meetings that could have been, or in-person meetings that could have been emails or Zoom meetings. And it's because I was doodling in my notes, and Marianne's like, your doodles are like so funny. And I was just like, you should see the rest of my notes. And she's like, and it's funny because I thought of it in my head. I was like, this would be so cool if somebody just like for comedic relief, no straight concept other than like these meetings could have been an email type thing.
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, so she was like, why? She's like, what if we curated this solo exhibit? So now I'm on an archive hunt for all of my middle school, high school, college notes and finding the best doodles. And so stay tuned because we're actually really trying to work that through, and just especially at a coffee shop to give people
I'll definitely come and check that out. You might even want to do like a picture book.
Yeah, cool. You're right. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So that's what's coming up.
Okay, very cool. Well, Ruti, we appreciate you stopping by the Red Poets Podcast and talking with us about everything you have going on. Make sure to check out Ruti, check out Indigenous Roots, tap in, they have a lot going on. That's right. And we're out.
Awesome. Peace.
Yeah.